Next up on the D23 recap is Disney live action. Not a lot of announcements here to go through, but I think a couple exciting things, and we will talk about that going through here. But yeah, a couple trailers that I have some thoughts about, but not a lot to really dive into as we head towards the Star Wars and Marvel portion of the podcast episode. This is also a good time, I suppose, at the midway point of the podcast episode. If you're listening, let me know in the comments down below. What are you excited about? Make sure to subscribe to the channel, and give the video a like and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, let's keep on going. So, Disney live action. There are 5 projects that I want to talk about. Like I said at the beginning of the podcast episode, not really going to touch on Freaky Friday or Freaky Friday 2 or a couple other things. These are the projects that I want to focus on and give some attention to. So let's kind of go let's end with the 2 trailers, and then let's go from, I suppose, sort of the what I'm least excited about to most excited about. So we'll start out with Tron Ares, which, not to say I'm not excited about it. In fact, these next 3 projects, I'm actually pretty excited about all of them to varying degrees. I remember when Tron Legacy came out. I was not old enough to see the original Tron in theaters or anything like that, but I was I watched Tron Legacy in theaters, and I really enjoyed it. The aesthetic is so unique, and it's such a simple concept, just having all these light kind of beams and light rails and rings and all these. But it's so cool. It's not quite retro, but it is retro in a weird way. But it's not. It's like it's so hard to explain. But I love the aesthetic of Tron. I kind of thought the franchise was dead after Tron Legacy. It's been almost 15 years now since that film came out, if not 15 years now at this point. But they're reviving the franchise with Tron Ares. Jared Leto is starring in it. And really the only big piece of news that came out from this is that they're going into the real world, which I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of 2 minds of this. On the one hand, there's not enough, like, just saying you're going into the real world. That's hardly anything to go off of anyways. So I don't even know what that means for the story. On the other hand, it kind of makes me a little nervous because what I love about the Tron films is being in that world of Tron. And so we'll have to see what that looks like. But I'm trusting that they have something interesting cooking. And if not, then, it's a franchise that sort of became a little niche, I suppose, but I think beloved by a lot of people in that community who enjoy those films. So excited to see what comes out of that. Next up, we have Avatar news. So James Cameron was on stage and he talked about Avatar 3, which has a title. I posted about this on the community tab. Avatar 3 will be called Avatar Fire and Ash. Now, on the one hand, because we knew from previous comments James Cameron had made that we would be exploring a fire tribe in Avatar 3. And I mean, on the one hand, right, it's getting a little corny and a little goofy now that every single film is dealing with a different element. Like the next one is going to be called Avatar Gust of Wind or what, I don't know. And Avatar, what haven't we done yet? Earth? We kind of did Earth in the first film. But anyways, because we know that Avatar will have 5 films, I think, which is crazy to me. But yeah, it's getting a little comical. Like, okay, we get it. Every single film explores a new tribe and all that kind of stuff. I'm hoping that 4 and 5 go in a little bit of a different direction than this. But, for the time being, I think it's interesting enough. Obviously, Avatar The Way of Water was revolutionary, again, in the way that it did visual effects and just the way that it explored the water. That was basically the only film I'd seen in 3D in maybe 5 or 6 years. And I purposely, chose 3D, not out of necessity to get a good seat or anything, because people had said, you got to watch this film in 3D. And sure enough, the 3D was remarkable in Avatar The Way of Water. That's one of the films where I think that while the story was okay, in my opinion, it was good enough, is what I would say. The visuals were what really, really sold me on the film. And that's rare because I am rarely a person who thinks that the visuals, in terms of components that I look for in a film, it rarely outweighs other things like story and characters and plot and even music. But in that case, it was the case that the visuals were incredible. And so yeah, we'll see what he does with fire, because obviously water is sort of a novel visual technique where you can kind of do a lot of interesting things. With fire, I'm not entirely sure. We got some concept art of new characters and new designs and things like that, which it looks fine. It looks different, looks good. But we'll have to see, what's next for Jake and his family. So yeah, there's that. But James Cameron talked about the fact that there's going to be new settings, there are going to be fire tribes, and what he also said was this film was going to be more emotional, which, I mean, I don't know. Sure. I don't quite know what I expect out of these Avatar films at this point, honestly, because I just kind of go into them being like, I just show me what you got. So if it's gonna be more emotional, great. I'm just looking for something different and something unique that, comes from James Cameron's mind. So yeah, there's some news on Avatar 3, Avatar, Fire and Ash. But the third thing, live action thing that, before we get to the two actual trailers, because this is sort of a semi-trailer as well, but this is really more of an announcement that Percy Jackson Season 2 is officially in production. We knew that Percy Jackson 2, based on the book The Sea of Monsters, was greenlit a while ago, but now they're officially going into production, which is really exciting because it'll basically mean that we'll get I think a new season hopefully within 2 years, because the last season came out in started coming out in December of 2023, and I think it ended in January of 2024, which was, I thought the first season really solid. Not the best thing that's ever happened or anything like that, but it kind of gave me that Harry Potter sense where you have the first film, which was not, in hindsight, it's not spectacular or anything like that, but it set a foundation that was really solid with these actors, and then they're allowed to grow into their roles. And you already see Walker, is it Scobell? The main actor who plays Percy Jackson, he's already, his voice is already deeper. He already looks a little older. So I think it's really exciting actually to get to see these actors actually grow into their roles. I'm hoping they greenlit more than another season. I'm hoping they greenlit a couple seasons because the point I wanted to make about this, as we see this production teaser, which is on the channel, if you want to check it out, is that you have these shows that like some shows just take years and years and years to get new seasons for, which really sucks, because previously new seasons of television would just come out every single year. This isn't coming out a year apart, because they needed to renew the season, I suppose, after seeing how the first one went. The first one was very, very successful. It was pretty well received, and I'm hoping that they greenlit more than one new season so that they can kind of just keep rolling back to back to back. So because these kids are going to grow quickly. And that is one logistical thing you have to consider when making a franchise like this. Now, unlike Harry Potter, there are only 5 books in the main franchise instead of 7. So that is an advantage. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to Sea of Monsters. It heads into production soon. And the overall point I wanted to make is that I think we'll get this probably, if I had to guess, I would say in a year. So if we're going into production now, I'm assuming cameras will roll before the end of the year, maybe in October, maybe November. Hopefully we'll be done shooting in about January, February, March, and then we'll head into post-production, and hopefully, yeah, maybe in a year. By next D23, we'll have, kind of like right before Percy Jackson Sea of Monsters comes out, we'll have, some hype coming around it, and then we'll get to see it pretty soon. So I'm really excited. I really enjoyed the first season. And then finally, like I mentioned, we have 2 full-length trailers to talk about here, and we'll start out with Snow White. So Snow White released a trailer starring Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot, and I mean, of all the Disney animation films that you could have remade, because I guess they're literally going to remake every single one of them, Snow White was probably on the list of least interesting to me. It's not one that I was personally, I had not really seen a lot as a kid. It's not one that I had a ton of nostalgia for. So I watched the trailer because I know there was a lot of controversy around Rachel Zegler, which I think personally was really overblown. I think West Side Story is phenomenal. I loved Rachel Zegler in it. She didn't have tons to do in Shazam! Fury of the Gods, so I'm not really going to comment on that in terms of her acting. But she's a phenomenal singer, incredible singer, and she's a really good actress as well. So was interested. Gal Gadot as the Queen, I was like, okay, maybe we'll see how it goes. And so we took a look at the trailer, and it looks okay. I think that the dwarves still look really weird and very CGI, which I guess is the point at this point. It's just that they're supposed to look that stylized. I don't know. It still does not really sit right with me in terms of what I'm looking at on the screen. I look at them and I go, something's off here. That being said, also the fact that they're not calling it Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, because I think there are a lot of interesting problems that come up these days with making a film about seven dwarves and Snow White. But they look odd, is what I will say. Like CGI wise, I mean, they look a little weird to me. Very uncanny valley, if you will. But yeah, Rachel Zegler looks fine. We didn't really get to hear a lot of her singing. We heard a little bit of it. And then we didn't really get to hear her talk as well as Snow White. We saw a little bit of Gal Gadot, who I think looks okay. It's kind of on the borderline because you can kind of tell she's trying to be very sinister as the evil queen, but also it's Gal Gadot. I mean, she doesn't have that kind of, general disposition. I haven't seen a role where she's really had to be sinister, and this is going to be an interesting change of pace for her. So we'll see. We'll see how she handles that. But yeah, I mean, it's, it looks okay to me. I don't have a lot to say about it. I believe it comes out early next year, and we'll have to see how that turns out. The final trailer, though, that we got from Disney Live Action was for Mufasa, the Lion King, which is a prequel film to the quote-unquote live-action / animated / CGI Lion King film that was directed by Jon Favreau, which I thought was okay. I thought there's still something a little weird about these really photorealistic animals talking. Something is a little weird about it. Like, compared to The Jungle Book, which I thought was fantastic, and perhaps it's just missing that element of having one human interact with them. I don't know. Because I think The Jungle Book is by far and away the best live-action remake that they've done. It's really good. If you haven't seen that, checked it out. 2016 is The Jungle Book. But anyways, yeah, Mufasa the Lion King, it's kind of, it's a situation of, did we really need this? What's the point of this? But we got it, and it looks good. We're getting the origin story, I suppose, of Mufasa and Scar, which is interesting. And we get cameos at the beginning from Timon and Pumbaa, as well. So I think Rafiki as well. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not entirely sold on this film. I will probably check it out anyways because it's a Lion King film, and Lion King is amazing. But my sense with this trailer is that if you enjoyed, like, to what degree you enjoyed the first Lion King, and by first Lion King I mean the last live action CGI Lion King, it feels like you will enjoy this film the same. I could be totally wrong because Barry Jenkins is directing this film, and he was the director of the Best Picture winner, infamously / famously, that Oscars where they mix up the winners. He was the director of Moonlight, that won Best Picture. So, I mean, they got a really, really great director to direct this film, and he seems to have a vision for it. So we'll see. We'll have to see. I'm curious, is what I will say. And for somebody, like myself, if I'm correct in saying that, to the degree you liked the first film, it seems like you like this film, then I think I'll enjoy it somewhat and then kind of move on. But again, it all just depends on the story that they're trying to tell, and how well they execute that. So those are all the announcements for the Disney live action projects. Let me know in the comments down below which one you're most excited about.